this party started. We are going to get the word out and then we are going to go live. Let's drop the spout. And I'm going to be up front. I am also on Fridays and Tuesdays dropping the link on post too. Though I'm going to get to the whole social media stuff in just a moment. I am majorly on Spoutable, and I'm going to get to all that soon, but I wanted to open up and welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles. I am your host, Kalari GXC, with some amazing news. Like, I'm not saying this lightly. I took a chance yet again after last year release of my sci-fi novel Axiom to try and get as many copies published and distributed because I'm an independent writer. We had to go the self-publishing route. And with that, it's more hustle, more promotion work myself. And me and my partner, we have been really trying hard to get the story circulating. And we tried on Kickstarter last year, and we came really close to the goal. But like everybody knows, if you don't hit the goal on Kickstarter, you don't get the funds you raise. So it was a try, but no cigar for us. And somebody suggested a few months back Indiegogo. And I looked at it, but between trying to get the house and other personal stuff, I didn't think about it. And I was like, you know what? I don't have time and I don't want my heart broken. I don't want to have to deal with crowdfunding again for a bit. But then I took.
All I wanna do is see you turn into a giant woman.
Thank you,
A
honey.
giant woman. All I wanna be is someone who gets to see a giant woman.
I took the chance last month to put together this Indiegogo campaign because it was like it's a year in. We've sold 200 ebooks. We've got a lot of paperback sales, but there's still stuff that we could do to get the book circulate and get other things done, like the audiobook and stuff. And I was excited to see where it would go. But I had a grain of salt. I was like, you know what? I'll do it, but if it doesn't hit, it doesn't hit. It'll justify my cynicalism. And y'all proved me wrong. Eight very generous people with one super generous backer got us beyond what we asked for. And I'm grateful to everybody who liked, shared, spread the word. I know a lot of people on Spoutable are the reason for this because we've built a really great community there, and y'all have my back. And I know with everything going on, with the wildfires, with so many things that you could donate to, having people drop funds for this means so much to Axiom Wolf and I just wanted to open up and thank you all. I mean, this book means the world to us. And it took years, years of writing, building my confidence to release it, to get it out, and taking this chance and having people believe in our stuff means the world to us. So I just wanted to open up with a thank you because you're helping make our dreams come true. And I'm just amazed at the journey that I'm able to take because years ago I wouldn't have felt confident to take this kind of step. So I just want to thank you. Those who donated will definitely be getting their sign with a personal note copy. I'm also looking because we've got new merch, y'all, and I'm going to show a lot of that later on in the cast. I decided to try to design a little bit more stuff for the merch store, not just our chronically unmotivated merch. But there's so much good on the horizon. And every time I think, why did I get into this? My community shows me exactly why. You have our back, and we are so grateful. But I'm going to take this down for a moment. And I know by this picture, y'all know what I'm going to talk about next because I'm sure, like everybody else that woke up in the AM and checked their social media stuff, y'all all got the news. And apparently, this hasn't been confirmed yet. Somebody just made a joke about it. It might be already being walked back because Elon's starting to see that nobody wants this. But apparently, apartheid edgelord decided that block feature isn't necessary. Now let me move this topic picture. and the browser thing because I think that's in the way of, yeah, there we go. This is a little back and forth between Musk and Jack Dorsey, the former Twitter owner. Mr. I got a $44 billion bag and I think I'm a kingmaker, but I'll get to that in a minute. Elon seems to think that the block feature is unnecessary. Now, I don't think I should have to tell you, as a black woman of big proportions on social media, goes through just being a big black woman anywhere online or anywhere in life goes through. But on Twitter, it was gross. Like 10 years of dealing with people who wanted to slide in the DMs, people who wanted to leave death threats, people who wanted to leave slurs, people who just wanted to harass, people who wanted to spam, whether it was their cryptocurrency or some crap that I was never going to buy. So it was nice to have a feature for my social media experience where I don't like this, I don't want to see it, put them in the block bin. The founder, and I'm not even the owner of Twitter, because I'm not going to call it what he wants me to call it, fuck that, has decided that being harassed is okay. And of course, he's opened up the floodgates to Trump and all his neo Nazi cronies. So, of course, he thinks it's okay to force people who literally use the tools the site gave us to be able to still navigate that hellscape. He doesn't want us to have that anymore because it was always about making people a captive audience to their rhetoric. That's why the title of tonight's topic is Bigotry is all they have left. And what bothers me about what's going on with the site formerly known as Twitter, or the Dead Bird app, as I like to call it, what bothers me about Twitter's potential demise is it was so unnecessary. We were looking and going and batting the back and forth on Spoutable earlier today. Why would these men do this? Why would they take the largest platform of both social, economic, political networking and tank it like this? Why would they do that? And I see where Jack is trying to influence next year's election with trying to push that anti-vax weirdo RFK Jr. And I see where Elon Musk thinks he's going to impress some ex-wife of his by sticking it to the woke crowd. But I'm asking people why you would take such a lucrative network and destroy it. Because logically speaking, it doesn't make sense. And a friend of mine said it. They just want to destroy anywhere black people feel comfortable in. And when he said that, it was like a light bulb clicked off for me. Any place black people, LGBTQ plus people, anybody they consider beneath them feels comfortable, they don't want it. So they were willing to tank millions of dollars, because I'm not even going to say billions, because the only person who thought it was worth billions was that dummy apartheid edgelord. And if this was a grand scheme for Jack to not look like a weirdo who wanted to charge for his site, which if he had kept it running the way he wanted to and had a premium version, he probably would have got people on board for that. But he wanted to look like the good guy that wants to keep the internet free, which is full of shit. He knows it, and now we know it. And all of you who are jumping the blue sky, you're going to soon learn the hard way. Jack only has one chance to burn me, and the Twitter shit burnt me well enough to where I know I will never trust anything he's on board with again. We have Spoutable. It's homegrown. It's grassroots. Christopher Boozy just put out a survey a couple of weeks. Thank you for the follow. Hey, Jabberwock. It's okay. A lot of my friends don't even realize that I scream. It's fun. Welcome to the chat. And Jabberwock is one of my favorite people. I love sitting in his streams. He's going to be a character in our new novel that we're working on as well. So I am excited about that. But to get back to the Twitter thing, because it bugs me that people make light of the damage being done by these asinine things. I didn't care that he wanted to charge some people money to keep them verified because I've never been verified. I didn't care that he changed the site's name to X because I didn't plan to be on it a lot. But I do care that people who are still feeling like they need to go on Twitter because it's their fix. There's no better way to say it. Social media can be very addicting, and when you're used to what's going on, people that I talk to, news, weather, and all the stuff that Twitter used to be able to be the source for, it's hard to give that up. And like I said, I was there from the fucking ground up. 10 years of my life on that social media app. And all I got to show for it is locking down a 30K follower account because I don't want them selling my shit off to some bot and fleecing people. And the salty disgust of watching people burn it down for a profit that's never going to come. He got a few people to pity me pay him to be on Twitter. But the rest of us said, no, you're not giving us any features worth that pay. And honestly, it's our content that's bringing people on there. And I'm not saying that just to toot my own horns. People literally followed me for the Bonnet shorts I did and for my takes on stuff. And how do I know that? Because I brought my ass to a new social media site and it is the exact same thing without the Bonnet short. And once I'm able to put my Bonnet shorts back on Spoutable, I know that it will be just like the Dead Bird app. So I don't know why people feel like they can't walk away, but I'm telling you right now, if he is going to jump the gun with this taking away the block feature, it's not going to be a good time for you. Like I said, as a black woman on Twitter, I had to use block because I literally was getting death threats. I had people using those awful slurs. I had people even using slurs that didn't even equate to me, which we're going to get to tonight as well. Nobody should be on a social media app site because it is called social media and feel like they need to be a captive audience to hate. And you will never convince me that Elon's grand plan was anything but doing that. Because somebody mentioned something along the lines, well, I blocked advertisers and maybe he's doing it for that. And it could be that he's has a 1% thought about advertisers being able to get through. But he knows what he's doing. He knew what he was doing when he invited that domestic terrorist back on the platform in a poll, trying to be cutesy about it, when he knew the whole damn time he was going to invite 45 back on that site. We have got to stop playing games with these people because that's all they seem to care about is playing games. Now, I was going to jump from the Twitter thing to a whole nother topic. And then this nonsense came up. And it leads into a lot of the stuff I was going to talk to tonight about bigotry. So I'm kind of glad for it. Now, Molly's response is not what I want to highlight here, but I'm glad that I was able to get the screenshot with her response because I'm not trans, but I consider myself a voice for them. I consider myself somebody that has their back. I'm not going to use the ally thing because I don't think people should call themselves that. It's a weird thing to do. But I will always stand up when I see people being crapped on for no reason. And what bothers me about this person's take is it's so factually wrong, but it just reminds me as a black person what my ancestors had to continuously hear from people who think respectability is more important than your human rights. Now this person, and I'm gonna assume that what they say on Spoutable for them is the truth. In response to a trans woman saying, "Can you just like let us be, leave us alone, respect our humanity?" It was just a harmless spout asking for people to just respect and leave trans people alone. And in response, this man said, okay, I'm gay. And if trans were not forcing and demanding immediate attention over time they would be welcome into society. And I want to break that point apart right here and there. You're saying that trans people who have been around for as long as straight and gay people, I know because I love history and I've studied ancient history, there have been two sex, intersex, and transgender people since the beginning of time. You're telling me and them that if they just stay silent, don't demand civil rights, that somehow they'll get that. But it keeps getting worse. You think the bar couldn't drop any lower, and Homeboy kept going. Because he says they'll be welcome into society like the gay people. Because in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, gay people, both men and women, gradually gained acceptance. I'm internally screaming right now. That's why I'm not trying not to be loud. But if you could hear the way everything in my brain was sounding right now, you would understand how infuriating that sentence is for me. Because it totally disavows actual history that isn't even that old. I am 46. I am old enough to remember the first Pride Parade, Stonewall, and everything ACT UP had to do during the AIDS crisis. Yet this mofo wants to rewrite history and say things like, we just quietly got acceptance for the LGBTQ community, and that's not how any of that worked. We never demanded it like trans people are doing, and it's hurting us all. And this isn't new. There have been weirdo tankies for the last few years that have been trying this little thought experiment of let's try to separate the T from the LGBTQ plus. Let's see if we can throw a scapegoat out to the wolves so that we can stay protective. And that is such a shitty take. Because it wasn't even 20 years ago that gay marriage was constantly being debated, shot down, and literally denied in all 50 states. It wasn't 20 years ago that coming out could literally mean somebody could beat you to death and use a panic attack, which they are still using against trans women and trans men in our country. To tell any group that understands dehumanization that they should just quietly accept that it's gonna hurt your group is such a shitty take. But it's not surprising to me as a black woman, because they said the same thing to us after we were emancipated and during Jim Crow, where they told us where to eat, where to sit, where to be on the bus. If a white person got on the bus, you had to move to the back of the bus, and if you didn't move to the back of the bus, they could physically throw you off or arrest you. It was called Jim Crow. We literally had to march for our civil rights. So when you tell people who are literally watching states draft anti-LGBTQ plus bills, trans teens having their personal medical stuff turned over to their state legislators and AGs, violating their privacy and HIPAA laws, telling people that their gender identity should be illegal is wrong. And there is no such thing as quiet acceptance. Compliance is as good as killing us. And it is not okay for somebody who claims to be of a marginalized group to tell others of that same group, because whether you like it or not, it is the LGBTQ plus, that they need to be left out of the conversation. They need to just be quiet and accept their dehumanization. I will not accept that. I am so fired up about this because it was on top of a TikTok. And I'm not going to play that lady's TikTok because I don't want to give her any kind of advertising or attention. And it pisses me off because I get a lot of TikTok compilations on YouTube. And I often do the stupid thing of leaving a comment like the host says, because I think I'm going to get intelligent conversation, and I never do. Because our community seems to have a fetish with bigotry against the LGBTQ too. And they know they do. And they hate being called down on it. But I'm going to call you out if I see it. And there was this black woman on TikTok, life coach, sounds real eloquent. that tried to make the point that she knew she was black from the womb, or excuse me, her parents knew she was black from the womb, so there was no question about it. But you can't say that about the LGBTQ. And I was like, you need to stop. What is the point of this? And after people stitched and really pressed back, and she realized her ends were going to be hurt, she came back with a follow up that was a bit more palatable, tried to change up what she originally said. But she was testing the waters, and a lot of people have been doing that on TikTok, which is the main reason why I don't mess with that site. There are a lot of people that think I just need to say something racist, controversial, or homophobic, controversial, or anti trans, controversial for likes and clicks and views. And it's infuriating to me because that shit gets them what they want. They get that attention, they get that engagement. I even made the mistake in the compilation telling people this ain't the way. Why would a marginalized woman, somebody who knows what it's like to be low rung on the societal total pole, decide to pick on the LGBTQ? Thus telling black queer people that you're just making the choice that you don't have to make. Why is it that straight people, and I say this as a straight woman, are so freaking confident that our way is normal, that we are so sure about what we like, that everybody needs to just feel that way? If being sexual and our sexual attractions was such a choice that we could toggle on and off, especially after the abusive relationship I was in before I found my one, I would not be straight by choice. And I'm saying that 100% because I am confident in who I am. And I want a world where anybody LGBTQ plus can be confident in who they are. And I want you, that if you think you're straight or know you're straight, to understand that when you're so loudly anti-gay, your house is not okay. Your mind cannot be okay because you are so worried and wrapped in this weird morality issue that doesn't make sense. And telling people to just quietly accept dehumanization, it just don't sit right with me. There are way too many bigots out there that want women to feel less than, black and brown people to feel less than if you speak more than a different language, because for them English is the king. You got to feel less than. And they especially think that everybody, because of their weird morality crusade that they've pushed upon us for years, will just jump on using the LGBTQ as a punching bag. And I'm telling you, it's not going to happen on my watch. There are way too many people doing this crap. And then you're seeing it from within, allegedly within the community. And I'm telling you, it's not okay. There are far too many people who should know better, who are acting like they don't know better. And it is like I said on Spoutable, there's no vulnerable group within our society that we should be throwing to the wolves of white supremacy. We have to stand together. We have to fight this prejudice together. We have to be defiantly decent to each other. You don't have to understand other people's lives to realize it's their lives to live. And as long as their lives aren't causing harm to other people unnecessarily, mind your business. I don't understand why you've got to make enemies where there should be none. But I do understand that it is a well low hanging fruit to just go, I don't understand it. So I got hate on it. Instead of, I don't understand it, but my life is good, and I don't want to make life bad for anybody else. I don't want somebody to have to fight for their right to exist as a citizen in their country and beyond. I want a world where we focus on stuff that actually matters. The global crises that actually matter. Whether it's the war in Ukraine, whether it is the climate crisis, which is causing wildfires, whether it's the hurricanes that have been hitting us, shit that we should be focusing our attention on, but we keep getting distracted by the bigotry. That is such a low hanging, disgusting fruit for most of us, but tasty for way too many more. It is infuriating because takes like this, because he thinks, well, I'm a gay man, I should have a right to say it. You have the right to say it, And I have every right to push back. Like I tried to explain to that brother or sister on YouTube earlier. Because they seem to think that calling out bigotry is bad when I'm calling out one of our own. But it's not. It has to be done. Now I'm gonna bring up something about TikTok. Cause it's like I said, I'm an old woman and it's really not the site for me normally. But I will give them props when I see something that is worth props. Now, I, like a lot of older people, thought TikTok was just full of dumb challenges and people trying to get famous. And I was wrong. Amy Pond is somebody I started watching a lot of her compilations on YouTube. She's on TikTok. And she's an Asian woman that constantly claps back against bigots and bigotry. And now there's a young man, Jamaican American, and I'm going to get his name because, like Amy Pond, I definitely want to know the names of people who are fighting the good fight and setting things right. But this young man said a word, and I'm just going to play this for you. I told the people on Spoutable that I was going to do this, and I am dead serious. I want you to hear this because, for real, this young man gets it. We are going to play his video right now.
Hot take. Actually, a lukewarm take if you've actually been fucking paying attention. The shade room, when it comes to information, is one of the worst things that has ever happened to the black community. Oh,
and
no.
let me pause that right there because I'm going to go on a tangent about the shade room after this. He makes such a good point about that, though, because it all ties into the coordination for 2024 as well. But let me stop interrupting.
Oh, what the shade room do? Stick with me, because this is actually insane. I know we've all heard about it at this point. Joe Biden announced a $700 payment to the families who are affected by the fires that have happened recently in Maui. And before I continue, as the number of lives that have been claimed by this fire continue to rise, I hope we can all understand how much a threat climate change is. My sincere condolences go out to everybody who's been affected by the fires, and I hope for a speedy recovery for the entire state of Hawaii. I don't have thoughts and prayers because we need action. We've been needed action. With all that being said, let's talk about what is true and what isn't true, and why this discourse is making me literally nauseous. So if you aren't aware that the shade room is right-leaning, I don't know what the fuck you've been living under. Trump, or the top Republican that they're considering to be president again, mind you, just got hit with a damn RICO charge. They reported it and then chose to report Trump is hiring a liberal lawyer who's supported to defend him again. As if that fucking means anything. Almost to suggest that, oh, even a liberal's defending him. It must be bogus. Oh, and would you look at that? Conspiracy theories in the comments about how they really don't want him to run next election because they know we want Biden out. In that same
I'm gonna pause this right there because that liberal lawyer comment irks me so much. Like, lawyers will take anything that A, has a paycheck sometimes. B, if they don't have scruples, it doesn't matter what they say they vote for or who they say they vote for, they'll take the job. And I don't even know the guy that they claim to be a liberal that's representing Trump, but any lawyer worth their grain of salt that's worked for or with the man has either gone to jail or lost their license, looking at you, Giuliani. So good luck to that supposed liberal lawyer. But I'm going to stop interrupting him.
Sentiment came to a head under this post because these are the comments. They gave billions to Ukraine, but our own U.S. citizens get $700. Billions to Ukraine, and now all the $700. $700 ain't finna get them gas. You won't ever be president after these F-ups. Sent trillions of dollars to Ukraine, but not even your own country. Hold up, you sent almost $1 trillion to Ukraine? This seems planned. With every bone in me, I hope y'all don't vote for this clown again in 2024 if he runs again. Bro, you can't even take care of your own country, but you sent Ukraine trillions to Ukraine. Please don't vote for this dude again. Okay. Couple things. Level 1, what has Biden actually done? Shocker, it wasn't just $700. There are 300 FEMA workers on the ground right now. FEMA has now provided 50,000 meals, 75,000 liters of water, 5,000 cots, and 10,000 blankets to the people of Maui. FEMA has also activated a transitional sheltering assistance program to help people who are displaced find a hotel or a motel. The critical needs program to get people additional food, water, and other supplies was the $700 that was issued. Also, multiple federal agencies are on the ground helping out, including, we already talked about FEMA, but also the U.S. Coast Guard, the Army Corps of of Engineers and the Environmental Protection Agency. Also, Biden ordered the military to help fight the fires and evacuate people. The Navy's 3rd Fleet was deployed to help out with efforts, as well as the Army, and the Marines are providing Black Hawk helicopters to help fight the fires. Also, Joe Biden made a disaster declaration for Hawaii, which frees up federal aid to support recovery efforts. That funding can be applied to grants for temporary housing and house repairs. It can also cover uninsured property losses, and it also is available to help individuals and business owners recover. The $700 was along with all this other aid. He didn't just throw $700 at them and say good luck. And this is steps he can take as the president right now, and that matters later. Level 2, since we're dogging on Joe Biden, and apparently some of you like Donald Trump so much, how would he respond to a crisis like this? I'm not going to talk about COVID. It seems like y'all just conveniently forgot about this shit. This was Trump's response to Hurricane Maria. For y'all to not understand that... Wait a minute. You're saying we have an update? Oh, turns out I was wrong. Because this was Trump's response to Hurricane Maria. Not only did Trump officials block Puerto Rico from receiving hurricane aid, his administration then obstructed an investigation into why they blocked that aid. That investigation was looking into why about $20 billion in hurricane aid was withheld. Those funds were congressionally approved. Remember when I said it was important to realize that Biden is doing what's in his power? Because many of you hopped on Instagram and social media without realizing that in order for us to get hella money to Hawaii, Congress needs to pass a budget first. Anyway, back to Trump. His Office of Management and Budget in 2018 began requiring extra procedural steps that weren't required before that stopped Housing and Urban Development from being able to unlock the funds required from Puerto Rico in time. When investigators tried to find out why this was going on, they were denied information from Housing and Urban Development multiple times under Trump. Trump's Office of Management and Budget also refused to comply. Mind you, this hurricane killed 2,975 people and triggered the world's 2nd longest blackout. Housing and Urban Development officials literally admitted to knowingly missing the congressionally mandated deadline to issue the notice that would unlock the funds for Puerto Rico. The head of it, Ben Carson, defended himself by questioning Puerto Rico's ability to handle the money you're supposed to give them. Meanwhile, Trump was opposing the funding, failing to acknowledge Maria's death toll, and is quoted as saying he did not want a single dollar going to Puerto Rico. On top of that, this ghoulish administration imposed more restrictions and more requirements in 2020 on how you could get aid in Puerto Rico. They claimed it was because Puerto Rico was too corrupt in how they handled their money, despite the fact that Texas and Florida had similar issues and their funds were not withheld. By the way, Joe Biden removed these restrictions. If we were just yeeted into a vortex where we had no recollection of his pandemic response and we have no clue that he's been hit with 4 indictments, one of them being a damn RICO charge, this shit alone is disqualifiable. None of y'all knew that, but y'all mad at Joe Biden right now. Level 3, but Ukraine! Firstly, how much aid have we sent to Ukraine? Is it a billion? Is it trillions? It's 76.8 billion so far. The proposed 40 plus billion coming after we pass a budget bill, which would take it up to around 113 billion. Sounds scary, right? As a percentage of GDP, or the amount of money that Americans are generating in the economy, we are down here, with all these other countries dedicating way more of their economies to supporting Ukraine. Secondly, why are we doing this? We can ignore the fact that many of you took Joe Biden to task over gas prices and simultaneously don't want us to be sending money to Ukraine, but the reason why the gas prices were so high was because Russia invaded Ukraine. We can ignore the fact that we're literally a part of NATO, a thing that was developed to stop countries from just raffle stomping other countries and taking them whenever, because, you know, World War II happened, which is why there's way more countries besides just us that are helping Ukraine. We can ignore how it makes us look on a world stage if Ukrainians are being invaded and getting killed by one of the biggest foreign military powers for no reason, and we're just like, fuck them, they're not Americans. If Joe Biden decides to do nothing, that means that after World War II, we still aren't willing to stop countries from just being able to walk into other countries and take them over. And if we aren't willing to do that, how's China feeling about invading Taiwan, something that it doesn't even respect as a country, if they're gonna face no resistance? And before you say, and I don't give a damn about no Taiwan, I hope you like Great Depression, because Taiwan is home to far and away the biggest, most productive, and most advanced distributor and producer of microchips, which is, by the way, why Biden wanted to ramp up production in the United States. Exactly. If China invades and we see a bunch of damages, which we will see, the worldwide production of everything from cars to the iPhone in your damn pocket could grind to a halt. Foreign policy is very complicated, which is why Shade Room and platforms like it just give you the clickbaited shit to get you riled up and generate attention for them, all the while generating narratives that promote a fascist with multiple outstanding charges who is critically inept at handling anything that is befitting of a president as a more reasonable option because Joe Biden gave $700. Google is free. Please utilize it.
That young man said a thing. Like, for real. I don't stand people easily. And like I said, between him and Amy, I believe it's Amy Chen. I don't know why I said Amy Pond. These people get it. They're utilizing a platform full of people who say racist shit for attention to push back against ignorance. And everything he said was a word Plus, Homeboy not only took the shade room down a few pegs, which we need to. I know black people think it's just crabs in a barrel to attack people who are successful. When you look at how they utilize their platform to try to herd us into this weird theocratic fascism, I have to pause, standing anybody who's okay with that. And then brothers and sisters who go on the shade room still, who kiki it up, trying to act like this president didn't come into a fucking mess and is still doing the thing, who rolled out pandemic response from nothing, had to deal with both domestic and global issues because the president isn't just the president of us. He has to negotiate and be there with his NATO allies and allies abroad who weren't in NATO until recently because of the way NATO rules are. But we were part of that. And as a member of that, when a sovereign nation is invaded by another hostile foreign nation, it is on us to both provide aid and support within means. And that I missed a lot of that because I am working on the next novel. I didn't see the beginning rumblings about the $700 to the Maui victims. And I'm not somebody that looks, especially after opening with the generosity that you've shown my partner and I for our stories and our novel, any kind of charity in the mouth. But to act like, especially black people, you understand all the geopolitical issues that the president has and fix your mouth to say, oh, I hope you don't vote for that clown because he's giving trillions to the Ukraine, but he's not doing anything for his people. I'm so glad this young man said everything that I could have possibly said to break down what's wrong with that because unlike Trump, who literally denied the people of Puerto Rico our literal territory because they can't call it a state. They have not applied for statehood, and I don't see why they would want to. We've robbed them for their resources, and then we leave them high and dry when a fucking storm left them without power, without freaking clean water, and without hope for almost 2 years. And when the dumbass did go to Puerto Rico, he threw paper towels at them and then came back and denied them the aid that they needed. And last I checked, Americans are still going over to Puerto Rico and being exploited, looking at those fucking Paul brothers and stuff, buying up properties, denying the people that live there the right to own places because it's easier for people with money to just come down and take over. And it pisses me off because, like many, I have family ties and friends who live on that island who just want to thrive and survive in their own home. And you got people saying, well, they should apply for statehood. Why? So they can be the most disrespected 51st state out there? No. Puerto Rico deserves whatever Puerto Rico wants. If they want their sovereignty, they deserve that. But if they want to be a state, they deserve that. They deserve to be the ones to call the shots on that. What annoys me about what the state room and shade room and other assholes that want to try to fuck with next year's election are doing is they're placing that low-hanging tasty fruit of I don't have to think about the complexity of why we as a NATO ally are helping the Ukraine, a sovereign nation that has been unduly attacked and is pulled into an unfair war. Why after World War II, which a lot of us have relatives who have fought or died in that war, who understood what fighting against fascism means. Why we would even have to explain to anybody today why it's not okay for people to just declare war on a nation because they just want them back. That young man broke it down well, and not only about the Ukraine, but the ongoing conflict with Taiwan that could really, you think the gas prices are unstable because what's going on out there in the world in politics? If Taiwan gets into a war with China, it's not even going to be a war because it will be brutal. We will fucking lose out on a lot because Taiwan manufactures a lot of stuff that we depend on. A lot of infrastructure for technology comes out of that country, which for some reason isn't even allowed to declare themselves their own country. And I know, oh, Ting, you're being controversial. You can't say that. Yes, I can. I can expound my opinion if I want. I'm not under Xi Jinping, and I'm pretty sure they ain't watching my black ass in China anyway. I'm telling you right now, if you don't understand geopolitics and basic civics, we know. But when you go on these sites and you say shit like, he only gave them $700, he ain't taking care of his people, when the last motherfucker ran off with both state secrets, PPE money, and filled his and his family's coffers with ill-gotten gain, all while being the worst president in American freaking history. And some of you mofos want to give him back, and I refuse. I buried family and I lost good friends to the fucking illness that shall not be named, because we had a doofus in the White House for 4 years fucking stuff up. On top of what he did to our allies in Yemen. On top of the pullout that he did that y'all blame Biden for. But the fucker already set what happened in motion. So we had to pull out, and we finally had a president that could enact pulling our military out of, oh gosh, I almost had a brain fart there, pulling our troops out of that war with as less damage to the people that were there as possible, because there's no such thing as no casualties in war, and we've been fighting for 20 years over there. So pulling our troops out was not, I know people have their opinions. Oh, it wasn't good. Oh, it was good, but I would have did things differently. You're not the president. And dumbass who started the rollout, who gets none of the credit for the bad, but would have taken all the credit for getting our troops home if you had let the fucker win, or pretend to win. Ignore the fact that, like this young man said, Trump has a RICO Act charge against him with other indictments pending. Forget the fact that he literally is on tape in 4K committing domestic terrorism because he couldn't accept that he lost the 2020 decision. The fact of the matter is, he did our country dirty constantly. The 4 U.S. soldiers that lost their lives in Africa that we still don't know all the details of. I will never forget, I believe it was a Sergeant Johnson, whose widow, who was very visibly pregnant, laying over his casket, not getting any answers from our literal president, and being treated like she was bothering him. Like it was a bother for the president of the United States to call the widow of a serviceman from his country. I will never forget that disrespect. And that was on top of the fact that we did Yemen dirty. People died because of Trump's bullshit and shenanigans. He tried to call a strike on foreign leaders he stole from an actual ally with visiting them. Trump was a fucking national and global embarrassment. And for people to act like that bum would still be a good option for our country is infuriating to me. But when you break it down, it is because bigotry is still such a tasty fruit for people. It is a low hanging, I don't have to use my brain to feel it fruit. And these people, I don't want to reach through to them anymore. I want to move past them. I want to take the people who get it. I want the defiantly, decently people who get that we don't have to create enemies where there don't need to be none. These bigots are going to keep indoctrinating each other. They're separating themselves. They're putting their kids in school and they're raising little gun-toting bigots. The rest of us, we have to get it together. Because what they can't do is outvote us if we all work together. Out-legislate us if we elect smart people. All they can do is complain and hate us. And you know what? That's their burden to bear. But what I want people to understand is they are out there and they are using platforms like the Shade Room. They are using social media sites like Twitter. They are out there spreading these false lies against the Biden-Harris administration because they know that this administration has been effective. effective with getting the job done, effective with appointing people from all walks of life. This administration is probably one of the most diverse administrations in our country's history, with a whole ton of firsts, including the first Native American Secretary of the Interior, the first openly LGBTQ traffic secretary, first female black SCOTUS. There are a lot of firsts under the Biden Harris administration, including our first female black and Southeast Asian vice president. And it's like I said about my civil rights point. We need to keep that door wide open, not get through it and then hold it halfway or close it because we want to protect ourselves. Because there is no protection from white supremacy. But if we continue to work together, all they can do is cry from the rocks that they belong under. We have got to stop acting like concession is the only way, or silently suffering is the only way, or throwing a group that we're not a part of to them is the only way, because we've seen how karma makes these people pay. It's why one of the Proud Boys is on the lam right now, trying to run because he knows he's going to jail. And what bothers me is that a kid with no real priors, but just happens to be black or indigenous or Hispanic, gets into trouble and they are subjected to the full brunt of the law. But these fuckers who are literally, they tape themselves committing domestic terrorism on January 6, 2021, are still being treated like, well, they got to go through due process. We didn't want to put them in jail because we didn't think they were flight risk. They're a part of a literal hate group. You know, the Proud Boys, I hate even using that term, are a literal hate group. Lock them up. I heard that for years. Lock her up. She didn't do anything wrong. We've just spouted stupid conspiracy theories against her, but lock her up. These people are literally caught in 4K committing domestic terrorism. Lock them up. All of them. I am sick and tired of rules for thee, but not for me in my country. Because whether you like it or not, I'm a citizen, and I'm fucking tired of the double standards that our legal system seems to play. It's why that grown-ass man baby who is responsible for a lot of people's deaths. And I don't say that lightly. I blame Trump for all my aunties and uncles that died to COVID. My friends who should still be here that died to COVID. We were all supposed to turn 46 this year together. And last year, before their 45th birthdays, 2 of them got taken from me. And now we're getting news that there's yet another variant to watch out for. So if you're going out, please mask up, booster up. This is not a joke. This shit isn't going away because there are way too many people still acting too entitled to do the right thing. Who want to talk about, I'll do whatever I can for my nation. Sir or ma'am, you won't even take a shot for your neighbor. You won't even take a fucking booster to save people from an illness that has ravaged millions. So spare me with what you would do for your country. I'm tired, y'all. I don't want to spend all hour yelling at people, but it feels like common sense isn't common. And you can hear from my tone and that young man's tone how frustrating it is to push back against the factos and most about everything that I talked about tonight is just how palatable the bigotry is. How these men who literally should know better, who literally run some of the most biggest social media apps, are helping try to depress the vote, helping try to lead us into some weird grip of just totalitarianism. And I know, ooh, Tin, that's a big word. What's it mean? It means a government that makes you obey whatever rules they set, even if that rules dehumanizes, could potentially lead to death. They want you to look away as they tell people coming here looking for a better opportunity. We can put you in a detention center, separate you from your kids, and mentally torture you, if not physically, because we are still getting those stories about forced sterilization and other shit that went down in those Trump camps, as I like to call them. It was not a good time under the Trump regime, and I do not want a repeat of it. And even though he has been indicted, and I was hooting and hollering with the Fannie Willis stuff, and I did not feel good on Tuesday. I would have been there to have a celebration stream for that, because getting 10 indictments against him was way more than I thought we were going to get, including the RICO charge. But indictments don't mean conviction yet. I have faith in both the judge and Fannie Willis to present an amazing case and to do their job to the letter of the law. But I also have years of watching men with money and their whiteness get away with stuff that they shouldn't get away with. So I am watching this, like many Americans, with a grain of salt. And welcome to the chat, Topher. I love that song too. I just feel like there are a lot of people trying really hard to go, don't look at the bad. Don't look at that. Distraction, distraction. Let's put all the bad that we should be given towards 45 to the people who are working hard. Let's hold them to impossible standards. Let's make their job even harder because we think we'll be all right under Trump. It wasn't that long ago we were existing under that man and things weren't all right. And I'm not willing to go quietly back, like some people want us to do, into that nightmare. There are so many things we have to focus our attention on. Once again, bringing up the Maui wildfires, because a lot of my friends, including Topher, are doing charity drives, trying to raise money and awareness. But there is a lot more that we need to be doing, because people want to complain about the gas prices, but you're just still pumping gas instead of worrying about electing legislators who can get us into cleaner technologies. And not just that fucker with his ugly Tesla cars, because I don't care. I will wait. There are better electric cars out there with more reputable companies that I would rather give our money to. And I know that there are some people that are like, I'll never change over to that. They were the same people that said they never owned a computer too. I'm telling you, any of us who have older family members, you know what I'm talking about. That elder that was like, I don't want to change anything. I was fine with my rotary phone. I don't need a cell phone. I can go to a payphone, and now they can't exist without this cell phone. They didn't want to do nothing with computers. Oh, I'm illiterate, and I'm internet illiterate. I can't learn that stuff. And now they're on Facebook and Twitter every freaking day. We will have to drag some people kicking and screaming into the future, but the future is going to happen whether they want it or not. And we are going to get away from gas prices chaining us down to cars. It's a simple equation at this point. People think it's not going to happen. People thought a lot of things weren't going to happen. They told the Wright brothers that planes will never happen, and now we have planes everywhere. Every revolution has always come with skeptics, and we can't let them hold us back, but they are going to try. And the only thing they have left in their arsenal is hate. So those of us who understand that that can't be us, we can't keep making enemies out of people that we just want them to live their good life too. We have to stand together and do the right things. We have to be informed, we have to stay aware, and we have to call out without amplifying the bigotry. Bigotry when we see it. There are ways to do this, and I know it seems hard, and I know it feels like, oh, I gotta constantly fight these bigots. You don't, and you don't have to amplify their message to call the dumbassery out. You don't have to give them a platform via you. Just call out what they're saying. Stand by your friends and your family who you know are marginalized. Even if that is not your life, have empathy for those of us who are struggling with it because it isn't fair. And I want a world that is a bit more fair. I was thinking this earlier because it would have been my grandmother's 86th birthday today. She was born August 18th, 1937, and we lost her back in 2011. And it's hard, but she always gave me the hard truths about voting because they don't want us to. And about how the world isn't fair for people like us. But if we keep pushing, we can make it fair for others beyond us. Because it shouldn't matter if we get something fair, if people are still treating other human beings less than for stupid morality reasons, especially. And on what would have been Ella's 86th birthday, it just hits me that a lot of the things she said about life is true. I'm not a perfect person. I've never put myself out there to be on a pedestal. I don't try to act like a saint. But I think being defiantly decent is something that helps me cope when this world just doesn't make sense. I don't have to. I want people to do better. And I know we can. I know it's hard though. If you're born in a certain demographic where you think if you rock the boat, your reputation currency will get eaten up, and you don't want that. You don't want to be the neighborhood pariah. You don't want to be accused of being woke. I think about how much is being held back by these weird, archaic rules that serve no purpose. Telling women that we can't make decisions for ourselves when we have proven time and again that we are smart, we are capable, and we just want to make choices for ourselves. Telling the LGBTQ that, oh, well, being straight is the norm, so you can't know who and what you are, though we can know who and what we are, and we can tell kids as early as 3 that they'll be getting married to their opposite sex partners, but they'll tell people that these two kids have parents who are same sex, and oh no, you're teaching kids about sex. It is the double standards for me that I cannot wrap my head around, that they think we're all too stupid to notice. It's okay to talk about two kids getting married if they're opposite gender. But telling kids the reality that in this day and age, there are families where the makeup are two moms, two dads, maybe even a whole ass group of people now. And believe me, as an older black woman who is confident in what I know and what I like, I don't pretend to understand people who can be in polyamorous relationships, but more power to them if they make it work. It doesn't bother me because it's not going on in my house. Do you see how easy that is? I don't understand people that need more than one partner. I love my partner. Sometimes he comes in and says some of the goofiest shit, and I'm like, really? I can't imagine having to deal with that with more than one person. But that is my personality. And I want people to understand that even though that works for me, I understand that that won't work for other people. And there are people that need and want and desire and should be able, if they can make it work, to have the relationships they want. And no, I'm not saying that to open the door to the deviants because people always make that argument. And it's funny because they also turn a blind eye to the fact that a lot of the deviants that chase children, especially, are their pious types, are their holy rollers and their moral types. Oh, but you don't say that, Tin. Look the other way. You're not supposed to notice that preacher or youth pastor or priest that preterize on kids. You're supposed to just know that we're the moral right. Even though we're telling little girls that it is okay to give birth to their rapist baby if they're underage. I don't want this world like this. We are way too technologically advanced for this bullshit. And we could be further advanced if we would stop giving in to this bullshit. I just want people to open their eyes. And I know, oh no, she's telling us to be woke. We can't do that. I'm telling you that what's keeping your eyes closed doing for you? That little dopamine hit you get from being the bigot cannot be as satisfying as what we could all collectively be doing as a community, a society, and global species of people. There's stuff on our planet we haven't even explored fully because we're too busy fighting over resources which are not infinite. There's a whole cosmos out there that we are barely getting to see through pictures mostly because we're too busy on here fighting. And the only people who get to go up there are billionaires who blow up shit more than they actually do shit for us collectively. It is beyond time for those of us who understand the assignment to speak up. You're not alone. Even though I know it feels like you might end up being alone if you seem too woke, you don't need anybody that cannot stand with you in decency. I want more people on the side of good than the side of complacency. But I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. I just got one more thing to show off because I am really excited about this, y'all. Let me get this change of picture back up and change this out. Let me get this properties. No, that's not what I wanted. I wanted the change of picture. Yeah, the image. Browse. Okay, there we go. This is just one of the many shirts. We have it in several different varieties. This is our tank. Our tee. And my personal favorite, the unisex baseball shirts. It is my punk powers are defiant decency. I love that saying. I've been saying it for years, and I was like, you know what? My chronically unmotivated merch has been doing well. I think this will do well. And we also have, which I am definitely going to get me one of these, my little Nixie, my punk powers are defiantly decent coffee mugs. I am so excited about this, y'all. And I know a lot of people on Twitter and Twitch and YouTube push merch. It's the way of the game. And all of us content creators have stuff that we have about ourselves that we like putting out there. I come up with slogans all the time. Foot soldiers for fuckery, factose intolerant. And I'm constantly told, 10, you need to put that on the shirt and stuff. Well, maybe I will. But I definitely believe in defiant decency. I said it earlier this week and I mean it. Lately, I have been feeling more like my old punk self because back in my teenage days, I was full ass punk than I have in years because being defiant against this tide of bigotry is my act of punkness. It's my punk power. And I know I am not alone. I know there are so many of you out there being defiantly decent with us. And I know that in time, when future humans who are way more enlightened, way more confident in who they are, and out there on our planet and beyond, just exploring, look back at these dumbass digital dark ages, they will know that there were people like us fighting for that future that they get to take for granted. So I am definitely going to wrap it up. But I thank everybody who sat in tonight. Hopefully, we will be back on Tuesday. This weekend is going to be exciting. We're going up to our property to look over some things. Hopefully, I will feel okay on Tuesday to bring back another Tuesday Bonnet Chronicles during the afternoon. Kiddos start school at the end of the month. So, like I told everybody on the YouTube community tab, on days where he runs over, I will let everybody know. But his school comes first because it's his senior year. And I just want to get him through high school. It is very important in our house to put that first. So no matter what, these 7 p.m. Friday night ones, they're on. But I thank everybody for constantly supporting. Thank you so much, Topher. You too. When you're live, I will definitely be in chat. And once again, Topher and many other amazing people are doing several different charities. He has one going for the Trevor Project, I believe. He's also knitting for a charity for, I believe, the South Dakota Reservation. And we're doing stuff for the Maui wildfire. So please be on the lookout for that. We are a community of tight knit people on Spoutable, and there is always something that people can help out with. So just keep your ear out. But I'm going to wrap it up, go get some dinner made for Axiom Wolf and I. I really hope you have a lovely weekend, and I will see you again next week.